What's happening, Bills Mafia? Ryan Thomas here of the Thomas Take Sports podcast, bringing you a new episode of the show. You can check it out on the Thomas Take Sports podcast YouTube channel, as well as any and all audio podcasting platforms. And last and certainly not least, the Buffalo Fan Base Podcast Network. Every Thursday, you can check out my show on the Buffalo Fan Base Podcast Network. Very excited to have another home for the Thomas Take Sports Podcast. In case you are watching the show on YouTube or on Facebook, you'd see that I shaved the beard. The beard is gone. No longer beard. Now beardless, and now fresh-faced as we head into the heart of spring as well as the start of summer. And with that, as a Buffalo Bills content creator like myself, I have to find ways to captivate the audience, which has always been a fairly easy thing for me to do, but I have to find ways to get everybody excited and debate and discuss topics that I feel are worthy to discuss. And this topic in this show is a simple question. How much pressure is on the Buffalo Bills this season? I think that is a very worthy question. And it's a question that I'm going to break down and answer for you guys and girls, Bills Mafia members, on the Thomas Take Sports podcast today. My apologies for the phone ringing there in the background in case you heard it. So why do I think the Bills are under a lot of pressure this season? I would say, first and foremost, there are new additions to this team that bring high expectations, new additions to this team that we least expected, and those additions being namely Von Miller. I personally, I'm on the beat. I try to stay as up to date as I possibly can, as much as I possibly can, on all things Buffalo Bills, whether they're in on a big player like Von Miller or not. And I had heard nothing in terms of Von Miller becoming a Buffalo Bill. I had heard zero factoids, nothing, no reports as to whether Von Miller was in the running to become a Buffalo Bill. He just became one. Wasn't like, there was an inside track saying Buffalo was the favorite or anything like that. Von Miller coming to the Buffalo Bills was a massive, massive story. And Von Miller being a major player heading into 2022, 2023 and beyond for the Buffalo Bills is something that I expect, frankly, and it's something that I expect really immediately, because there are only so many Von Millers in the National Football League. And by so many, I say very few in terms of immediate impact, pedigree type NFL players that can be a specialist at a particular position and achieve big numbers. And year in, year out, Von Miller has been able to be a key contributor to every single team that he's played for, whether it's the Broncos or the Rams, the all-time sack leader, I should say, in Denver Broncos history. And we know that he was a big missing piece in terms of coming to the Rams and what he was able to do for them. So new additions bring high expectations, and a Von Miller signing makes the Bills more legitimate in the eyes of football fans on paper. They have to be better. They have to be an upper echelon team with an addition like that. And we talk about the additions of Von Miller, O.J. Howard, Jamison Crowder, to name a few, Jordan Phillips, Shaq Lawson. There have been a ton of new additions to this team, and we are here mid-April. The draft hasn't even happened yet, and quite possibly the draft could make the Buffalo Bills even better. The draft does put teams that are pretenders, I should say, into contenders, and contenders into champions. That's what the draft really does. Year in and year out, you go back to, a pick like Deebo Samuel, the San Francisco 49ers. That pick made the San Francisco 49ers that much better, among many others in that draft that essentially make up the solid, legitimate skill-making parts of their team now. And the Buffalo Bills, frankly, have not seen as much a return these last few years on their draft capital as they would like, whether it's Rousseau, whether it's Boogie Basham. Up until this year, Ed Oliver wasn't exactly, lighting things up on the stat sheet. But truthfully, I think this is the year where guys that the Bills have drafted in years past will show up and show out based on the new additions like Von Miller and many others on both sides of the ball that have just complemented the players that are on this roster already. And this draft in particular, the Bills don't have to overextend themselves. They're in a position to just go out, make a solid trade, and go from there. And last and certainly not least, the AFC East can be ruled by the Bills for many years to come. Frankly, it's supposed to be ruled by the Bills for many years to come. If in fact it isn't, if in fact the Bills come up short in ruling the roost of the AFC East, then obviously this upcoming season would be a major, major disaster. I look at the Bills, I look at the Dolphins, I look at the Patriots, and I look at the Jets as the hierarchy of the division. And the Dolphins ahead of the Patriots is not by much. It is by a very slim margin. So truthfully, we're in an era where everything is ahead of the Bills. Everything that they need to do is right in front of them. And I truly think the Bills are under a ton of pressure this year to get it done. Can they get it done? I think they will. Thanks for tuning in to the Thomas Take Sports Podcast. I'm Ryan Thomas. Go Bills.